Eventually. All right, we are back with another episode of the Sunshine State Happy Hour powered by Florida Beer Media. This is Dave, your host and author. It's been a little while since we've done this, but we've got some excellent shows coming up down the pipeline. But today is actually going to be kind of a fun one because we have a selection of beers from Ivanhoe Park Brewing in Orlando that we are going to be going over. And there are two gentlemen that are probably the best people to go over those beers with. So we're going to be talking to Ivanhoe Park's co-founder, Glenn Closson, and their lead brewer, Eric Van Warmer. Gentlemen, thank you so much and welcome to the show.
How's it going?
Thanks for having us.
I'm doing good because I've actually gotten started already, kind of like Glenn mentioned. And of the beers that we are actually going over, I know 3 of them are kind of limited releases, and I kind of want to talk about that, especially concerning limited releases in the age of COVID. But Glenn, I know that you were mentioning that this was sort of a seasonal, but Park Hopper has become a year-round. If you take a look at it compared to the other year-round seasons you have, it has kind of that similar image and whatnot. And there's another one, but I just don't have enough hands. So Can you tell us
We started off with it like a seasonal quarterly. Obviously, being a small craft brewery, sometimes lagering isn't as easy because you're looking at more trying to fill the tanks, turn the beer. So economically, it is tougher to keep a lager on year round. But we ended up taking a gold home this year at Florida-based Beer Fest for this Park Hopper Pilsner. So we kind of knew at that point we wanted to keep it on there. And, we decided that we could do a variety pack, so it kind of rounded out the other 3. We have Joyland IPA, Toboggan Blonde Ale, and our Bungalow Belgian Wit Beer. So adding a Pilsner in there, I mean, not many local craft breweries are doing Pilsners, and I think it's kind of one of those beers that people are trying to look for, especially in these summer months.
Yeah, it's actually really fantastic. I was very happy with the Pilsner-like malt notes, but it never got too excessively hoppy. It's definitely a very biscuity, very bready forward beer, which is absolutely fantastic and definitely kind of perfect for Orlando. And cheers. And it's amazing how much the Pilsner has sort of rocketed back into the conscious of craft beer drinkers.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I mean, there's a lot of crazy off-the-wall stuff going on that we all enjoy as well. But just bringing it back to that traditional style, I know that's what we all want to do. I mean, Eric and Amanda have a lot of fun back here. I mean, we've been doing probably 5 or 6 lagers in the past 3 to 4 months just because of COVID slowing down, allowing us to have more time in the tanks. So I know if it was Amanda's world, she would definitely be making this a lager house.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, Eric, how much has your brewing schedule sort of changed because of COVID-19? Obviously, the tap room is not open at the present time, and you're not turning over quite as much liquid as you used to. How much experimenting are the two of you really able to do back there?
I think luckily, based on our customers, we had a lot of beer in the tanks when the whole virus epidemic started. So we were ready to start canning beer and doing all that good, fun stuff. So when this happened, we had customers come out of the woodwork for everything in cans. So we were able to stay busy. We slowed down a little bit. As far as the experimenting went, nothing really too crazy until the last beers we did for Camp Ivanhoe. We really got to play a little bit with those and have a good time.
Yeah, Camp Ivanhoe, I was very jealous that I was not in the Orlando area because it seemed like a really interesting program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That's probably better for Glenn to answer.
Okay.
Oh, man. Well, the brew team was busy. We did 4 beer releases that week. What it is June 29th in 2018, we had Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer come out. Instead of a ribbon cutting, we did a keg tapping. So we got a firkin. We named it Buddy's Iconic Brown Ale, and he tapped the firkin on June 29th. Came out with a proclamation naming June 29th Ivanhoe Park Brewing Company Day. So every June 29th, we try to do something special and celebrate. This year, I mean, we started a few months ago, and we wanted to do a whole week-long event called Camp Ivanhoe. It was really cool. We had beers, we had activities. So we did things like giving away tie-dye kits with a white shirt. People would take it home and tie-dye their stuff, but then we did a tie-dye rye pale ale. beer that had a can label that was tie-dye themed and sent that home with them. We did a s'mores kit because we did a s'more style imperial stout that tasted really good and went with a s'mores kit. So they got like marshmallows and chocolate and all that. So every day just had a new activity, a new event. Like I said, the brew staff were super busy. It's tough fermenting 4 beers at the same time and canning all 16-ounce cans. And our distributor, City Beverages, has been great because they take at least 20 cases of each of the beers that we can, no matter what it is, just because they know they can get it on the shelves and they have placement for it. So each one of those beers went into the market and sold out. So it's kind of cool to see, people enjoying it in the tap room, but also out in the market as well. So just kind of worked out.
How has the city and your patrons been accepting of the closure and Ivanhoe Park not being able to be open as much as they want to? Are you getting a lot of anger from them, or are they trying to purchase more packaged and more whatever as much as they can?
I would say the first round of shutdown, there was a lot more support for off-premise. But that was more so because everybody was shut down for on-premise. The second round, due to the fact that restaurants are allowed to be bars technically and serve on-premise, a lot of that market still wants to go out and still have a beer. So first round, we saw a huge support. We still see good support of our regulars and our community coming by, but there's definitely a huge difference when DBPR restricts one license and not another, because it totally shut down our market and left open options. I mean, you can still go to any restaurant that has a bar and sit there like it's a normal bar. So not everybody's forced to stay home and buy off premise, because that kind of drove that first shutdown's kind of sales to off premise. This time it's definitely been a lot slower just because there's more options than just drinking at home, unfortunately.
That's a shame. I know that. I'm sorry, Eric, you sounded like you were going to say something. I know one of the things that I was actually really impressed with, and I'm curious as to whether you're still able to do this, was deliveries in sort of the downtown area. Are you still able to kind of keep that up to, I guess, add a couple more bucks to the till?
Yeah, unfortunately, it came out that was actually never legal. There were breweries that took advantage of it, but 3-tiered system is strong in Florida. So yeah, that was never really an option, unfortunately. And I mean, we're not here to point fingers at anybody. So the thing is, like, we did it. I'm not going to lie. But as soon as we found out that DBPR, it was just like a rumor going around that DBPR was laxing it. But as soon as they released notes that like they are still enforcing that we can't deliver beer, we had to pull back on that, unfortunately.
That's a shame. I was, definitely telling you. I mean, it's interesting. Is this something that you think breweries in Florida should be able to fight? Is that something that you think should be something that people should be allowed to offer?
Yeah. Being part of the Florida Brewers Guild, I mean, we have been fighting franchise reform and self-distribution for years now, and it's not any easier. We present our case every year. We feel like we get a ton of support. We go up to Tallahassee and climb the hill. Every rep I meet with is always super stoked. They're part of the craft beer caucus. They love what we're talking about. But in the end, it gets to the floor and just doesn't have that, I guess, final drive to get through approval. I mean, it's definitely a benefit for small breweries to be able to have, that self-distribution, and some of these breweries that are stuck in distributor contracts with the franchise reform. I mean, it would just make it more of an even playing field. I mean, for us, I'm happy if, in case City Bev and Wayne Dench or Daytona Bet are watching, we're happy with that. But being part of the guild, I'm looking out for everybody. I want all breweries to succeed. I want them all to have that same success and same fight. I mean, it's unfair when there's different battles you have to fight just because you're smaller or you don't have the capital behind it, or whatever the story is. So
no, absolutely. Another thing that I've noticed that a lot of breweries have done, and you are no different, you sort of alluded to this earlier, is it seems like people are releasing more beers than they ever really had before, a lot more inventive beers, just trying to keep as many cans in the tap room and going out into the market as much as possible. Do you think that you're seeing even more of that happen now, or is this just a normal continuation of what breweries kind of have to do to survive? I should pose that to both of you.
Yeah, I mean, Eric can cover this one. I mean, we have 12 beers available in cans. I mean, that's almost as much as ABC and Total Wine. I mean, if you want to chat about what you've done in the past few weeks to innovate.
Well, I think the biggest thing for us is that we're around a lot of great breweries, a lot of breweries putting out cans regular. You know, we have to do it too, and we have to do it well. And I think we've brought that forward. We have the equipment, we have the talent, and we're doing it well, I think. I think it's nice to see. You know, I'm not a big fan of Untapped, but see the reviews and see how things are, you know, starting to change for just the name of our brewery. I think in the 10, 11 months that Amanda and I have been together, we've really, I think, refined a lot of recipes and made things a little more streamlined, consistent, and really good damn beer. And it's nice
Excellent.
to be able to put it out there.
Yeah, I'm definitely everything that I've had from Ivanhoe Park has been fantastic. And I think I'm ready to sort of move on to this next sample. And I'm excited because this is one of my absolute favorite styles. And I've never actually heard of freehand goods. So you'll have to tell me a little bit more about this. But can you just go over the name? Because this is one of those limited cans that you had released, and you can tell that it's limited because it doesn't have that gorgeous six-sided icon that Ivanhoe Park is sort of becoming known for, I would assume.
Yeah, Freehand Goods is a local shop. They have 2 locations in Orlando. We've worked with them. They have a really cool Airstream that kind of has a setup where they do leather working and various kind of craft things that are all handmade. They did a collaboration with Hourglass not too long ago, and so we had reached out to see if they wanted to do something, and he had already had this design ready to go, so we kind of sat together and, you know, thought what would be a good beer for Cold Bear Please, and I mean, we had a Kolsch going, and it just kind of worked out that we chose our Kolsch to match with his collaboration of the design. And, you know, it's been selling well. There's obviously accounts out there that he knows that he's gotten it into for us. And, I mean, this Kolsch is delicious. This is usually my go-to, but we're almost out of it. So it's going to be a sad day.
That's a shame. And it's such a standard style. Is it something that maybe you could tweak the recipe to where it's not necessarily Cold Bear Please, but it's still something that you can keep on at Ivanhoe Park from, you know, permanently?
I think this should be our Kolsch recipe, period. Amanda came out swinging with the Pilsner, the Kolsch, and you just can't complain about these beers.
This is fantastic because it's got that slight honey note that a quality Kolsch has. Not that there's honey in it, but it's got that slight note. It's very much like a cream ale. It's got that sort of smoothness. It's got that very light body, but just enough of that additional malt hit to where it's just fantastic. Like I said, the Kolsch is one of my absolute favorite styles, and that is just incredible. So yes, yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Thank you for that. I completely agree.
Yeah. And we'll probably, I mean, we can partner with them again. I know they did a second batch at Hourglass of the beer that they collaborated. So I'm sure they're more than open to allow us to keep utilizing the branding for it. I don't know if we would ever be able to mix it in with the variety pack, but we'll definitely keep this one. The Vienna Lager that we did was a huge hit too. We'll bring that one back. Just the stuff they're having fun with back there. I mean, I let the brew team kind of do their thing, and the things that they've come up with have been definitely talked about.
Which is interesting. And Eric, I'd love to hear your opinion of this, but a lot of the beers that we're talking about, these are not the crazy dessert stout face-melting sours that Florida is starting to be infamous for. Right. I mean, you take a look at all your 4 quarters, a Pilsner, a wit beer, an IPA, and a blonde. These aren't exactly harsh beers. And then you've had a Kolsch, and we're going to go into a few others. These seem to be an easier drinking style of beer. Is that what you see Orlando is really gravitating towards?
That's a good question. I don't think I can actually answer that properly. I think just for what we do, we really need to get our base of beer out there and, just get really good drinking beer and then start playing with beers like the stouts and porters and things like that on the side. So the stouts that we've had so far, Tears for Years, the S'mores, before that, they had Ivanhoe. Those are really straightforward stouts. But these last couple that are sweet, to me, it's an acquired taste. It's not something that I'm a big fan of. I like a straightforward Guinness, but people love them. Let's make it. Let's try to make it well. So yeah, it's different. It's definitely changed, I think, in the last couple of years. And there are still people that seek big ABV beers. So why not make an imperial stout? Make it easy.
If you're a big fan of Guinness, do you have a dry Irish that comes around every March or just on their period?
I don't think we've had a dry Irish stout. Not since I've been there, but it wouldn't be a bad idea. It'd be a nice core beer to have. Go with that pack of lagers.
Glenn? Glenn, just saying. Not that I'm putting words in anybody's mouth, but just saying.
Okay.
So one of the other things that's interesting that I've heard people talk about during the coronavirus, as breweries are packaging more, that package seems to be mostly cans. And if it's a special beer, instead of going for the 22-ounce bomber, it's more going into the 16-ounce tall boys, something like this. Are you kind of moving away from glass? Because I know that you've had a couple of releases. I had a bottle of Suck It Trebek for a very long time, and that was a fantastic beer. But I don't think you've been doing anything with glass anymore. Is this something that you are starting to see? Maybe this is it for glass and everybody's going to be going more towards aluminum?
I think so, yeah. We have our canning line on site, so it kind of makes sense for us. And the last round of Suck It Trebek we actually did can it, just because it was more efficient and allowed longer shelf life, and overall was a lot easier than our guys back here with the Blickman gun filling bottle after bottle. So overall, the past 2 to 3 years, I think that whole argument, glass and bottle, I think the people that were for glass were the ones that used glass. The people that were for cans used cans. So the pros and cons are there, but overall, as long as people drink the beer fresh, it shouldn't be an issue. I do think the transition to cans is happening. I think the consumer was realizing a bomber price on the shelf, not to give away like trade secrets, but they were noticing, they're paying, I don't even like $4 to $5 for a bomber, but they have to sitting where they could get, a 6-pack for $10, and that's more ounces over 6 cans. So I think the consumer is kind of drawn that way as well. So for bottles, only if we do like a heavy ABV beer or some maybe barrel aged, but we're even talking about a barrel aged beer that we're about to release in a couple weeks. Putting that just on draft right now. So I think it's just laying our options, and I think it's what the consumer wants is what we have to kind of give them.
Yeah. I will say one of the most interesting high ABV beer deliveries I've ever seen in the state of Florida was a 3-pack of 8-ounce stubby cans, which for me was perfect because I can't go through an entire bottle unless I bring people over. Whereas this, I had, my 3 little servings, and that was kind of fantastic. Almost like the little individual wine boxes that you can find at Publix or whatnot.
That's cool.
Which is funny. I love Ivanhoe Park Brewing because you have such a great downtown location. It's down by the water, and your building literally shakes at least once an hour because of the trains going by. If you've never been to Ivanhoe Park Brewing, it's absolutely fantastic. That is sort of an up-and-coming revitalized area of Orlando, if I'm correct. Do you get a lot of people that are from that general area that are able to just walk quickly over to grab something, or are you getting a lot of people commuting in from elsewhere around the city and slightly more beyond to pick up packaged goods and so on?
Yeah, I think pre-COVID, Ivanhoe Village is definitely a place that people from all over Orlando Uber in and then bar hop. I mean, we've been named the unofficial Barley Row just because you have us, you have GB's Bottle Shop a walk away, you have Thirsty Topher down the road from them, 1010 Brewing down the road from them, and then even Red Light a little bit further down. So there's all these great spots that have their own character, different selection of beer, and just, a different environment that each person of your group's going to enjoy. So it's definitely a place where people park at one spot or Uber in and just bounce around all night and then take off from there. Package-wise, I think it's just, more our community that's just wanting to support us. They've seen what we've done. We do Family Day where we bring out a bounce house and like a face painter, and, the family comes out with the kids. We have a family-type DJ that entertains. So I think they've seen, we've invested a lot of money into, making us a place where they feel comfortable bringing their family once a month, that they kind of want to return that favor. So when COVID finally settles down, we're still around and they can come out and enjoy that again. So.
Do you have a lot of support in the community when it comes to the mayor and various officials within the city? It's always interesting to see how much the city actually supports its brewing scene and whatnot. And I've heard stories about Orlando not necessarily being the most positive, but it almost sounds like that's starting to change.
Yeah, I would say when I first moved here, I researched opening a brewery, and they had some weird, old, outdated laws. But a few months into it, the mayor signed in some changes that adjusted retail space versus taproom versus manufacturing, that were super beneficial to the industry. And that's why there's been a big boom in growth in Central Florida with new breweries coming out. So overall, I'd say they're definitely more supportive. I think every brewery that's open has been able to educate them a little better. I think that's the biggest point is, a lot of them, don't spend their lifetime understanding how a brewery operates and what it does. So as long as we have owners that are, presenting what they need to present and explaining it and trying to, not just get upset, but more so explain the process and educate, I think that's been a great benefit for all of us, and hopefully going to kind of pave the way for more breweries to come out here and kind of have an easier entry to market, just so we can all kind of collaborate and make good beer.
And you think that section of Orlando is ripe to where we could probably put in several more breweries and have sort of something as super concentrated as maybe San Diego or Denver?
Something like that. I don't know if we'll ever get that far. I mean, recently there's a lot of news of Tampa area breweries that are moving to Orlando. We have Motorworks going downtown. We have, Persimmon Hollow's from Central Florida, but J-Dubs just took over the Brew Theory tap room, and then Big Storm's news earlier this week about the Amway Center. So yeah, ultimately we'd love to see some fresh blood. I welcome all of them. I'm excited they're going to be here, but when Tactical came in, they're killing it. Rock Pit's killing it. So it's good to see these new breweries that are, living that dream that we all live and just kind of taking that risk and, showing off what they can do and making good beer. That's the biggest thing that we want behind all this.
Gotcha. And in terms of good beer, I know it's funny that we talked a lot about kind of standard core styles, and then I went ahead and opened up the third beer that I kind of wanted to chat about, which was Guavacation, which is as far from a core as you could probably get. And Eric is laughing at me right now. Tell us a little bit about this very different beer, because I opened it up and I was a little bit surprised on exactly how pink it came out. Let's see if I can
pink guava and red raspberry. You gotta love that color.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. I'm trying to get it. There we go.
Got to hit the light in the right angle.
Yeah.
I think if we could.
Oh, there you go. Much better.
That would be a core beer, also, if we could do it. People love that beer.
Is that real? Is that fresh guava and red and raspberries?
It's a craft puree, aseptic puree, more or less.
Ooh. Oh, that's amazing. It's amazing how, I mean, you can taste the guava because I'm a big fan of like guava paste and whatnot, and that is right down the line, but it's also got that raspberry tartness to it, which is kind of funny. And it's actually something that I had talked about previously, kind of I guess you could probably consider this to be part of the Florida Vice
Yeah.
style. Where did you decide to come up with this particular concoction, and how much do you, or let's start with that, and then I've got some other questions about agricultural and local whatnot.
Well, that was pretty much a beer when both Amanda and I started. Basically, all we did to it was refine the recipe a little bit, make it consistent with ingredients and our supplies. And it's an easy drinker. And it's also good to mix and add a little liquor to next to the swimming pool and have all kinds of fun with it. Makes good mimosas. You know, it's only 3.5%, so it's easy.
That's not bad. Yeah. I mean, well, Berliner Weisses, they're not necessarily big, bold beers in terms of alcohol percent.
Makes it easy to enjoy.
Do you see, is this a good place to start off with in terms of as many different fruit treatments as you can possibly find? Let's just play and see what kind of stuff you can get at Publix and throw into the mash.
Myself, no. I'd rather not just throw anything at a beer. Rather, this is something that's been consistent, and we have really good feedback from our customers. We made a different version with the glass knife with their desserts. So it had strawberry, raspberry, and lemon zest with a little bit of lactose. That went off pretty well, but Guavacation still capitalizes on everything we've done sour-wise. I really don't compare it to Suck It Trebek. That's a sour IPA, but it's got its own row that it's in. But as far as our fruited sours, I think so far so good. We may make one that's a little bit bigger without lactose. Don't want to exclude anybody, but this is what we've got so far.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Orlando really a big sour forward sort of a beer market?
It seems like it's happening more and more. More requests. I mean, Glenn, is this one of our top sellers, or how does it rate with our beer?
I think it definitely does well. I think sour in general is a trend. A lot of bars have a hard time getting a sour keg for their tap line, so we have kind of made this more consistent, along with the next beer we're drinking as a year-round available fruit. So this one's just a little tougher because they have to try to brew it on a Friday, so it can sour kettle over the weekend. So it does mess with the brew schedule a little bit, but we do have it on pretty consistently because it is, I mean, sours are definitely something people are looking for right now. And it fills that niche. A lot of our accounts are picking it up quick. And, I mean, they say they can't even keep it on tap when it goes out. So.
Interesting. Do you see a lot of people that are coming in that are starting to be a little bit new to craft beer reaching for something like this first? Because this is less beer centric and more along the cocktail lines, like kind of like you mentioned, it's a great mixer and so forth.
I think people are jumping for a sour like this, or maybe even a New England, so they still get the IPA, but it's without the bitterness, a little bit easier to drink, still has the ABV content. So I think it's either or. Just get what you like.
That's funny. Now, I guess it's a great question in terms of a lot of the partnerships that Ivanhoe Park has sort of mentioned, because you've mentioned, obviously, you've got freehand goods and you've got the glass knife and whatnot. Have you been able to partner with local produce, local farmers, and be able to feature a lot of that in some of the beers that you have coming out?
I mean, as far as spent grain goes, we do have like 3 local farmers that are great to work with, that our brewers work with. As far as sourcing locally, we've definitely tried. I mean, there's a huge demand for it. So there's a lot of breweries that as soon as like we know the local hop farms have it, most breweries grab it up and do a collaboration. We have yet to find time in like our brew schedule, but we'd love to definitely work with the local hop growers that are out there to try to get something going. But as far as most of our ingredients go, it's through the normal BSG or country malt type orders that we get. just because we're producing 15 barrels at a time. So sometimes it's harder to get that amount of quantities that we're looking at as far as hop pellets or grain sources.
Gotcha. Going back to COVID and going back to the packages that you currently have available for pickup, because obviously the tap room's not open. I've heard it both ways in terms of the styles that people are really purchasing. I've had some brewers tell me that people are really going for the new beers that they've never seen before because they've tried the standards and they're okay with those, but they want to have a different experience. And then I've had other breweries tell me that really the things that are flying off the shelves are the tried and true ones that you can either go to the brewery or go to Publix or go to Total Wine and More. You know what you're getting. There's no need to rock the boat. There's no need to do anything different. What do you see the patrons of Ivanhoe Park doing? Are they going one way or the other?
I think they're trying to spread the love for sure. Usually you'll see people post their beer haul at the end of the day if they're doing like a to-go run. And I mean, you'll see 4 to 6 different breweries. It's insane, like the ground that they cover. I think each brewery is getting more creative as far as different type things. Like, we did Camp Ivanhoe and it was a pretty big success for us. We did pre-orders and sold out most of the items every day. One cool thing is Tactical is doing I think it's 8-ounce cans, which is insane to me. And it's like a flight. So they sell a flight of 4 of 8 ounce. And I'm like, that's genius.
Interesting.
It's being innovative. I mean, the beer talks for itself, but coming up with fun, innovative ways. Obviously, right now, a lot of Black is Beautiful can releases or bottle releases are happening. We're releasing ours next Friday, so there's the support behind that, so that we can all raise funds for different nonprofits that we're trying to work with. And I think it's just being innovative. You got to pivot, and I think a lot of brewers are doing a good job doing that. And, we're getting the support from the community, but I think we're giving them something that they want to come out and actually support.
It's actually interesting that you mentioned Black is Beautiful because that seems to be the new thing for breweries to do. Obviously, it started last year with Resilience from Sierra Nevada because of the California wildfires. And then only a couple of months ago, you had All Together, and the name is escaping me for some reason. The brewery that kind of started that one, and then you've got Black is Beautiful. What is the process of getting that recipe started? What are the requirements that you as a brewery either have to adhere to or that you adhere to because that is something that you want to do?
I think the beer community is so tight-knit that it's pretty easy to spread the word on what's happening. I think our communication chains goes from top down. I mean, you have the Brewers Association at a national level that has access to the brewer guilds at the state level. Then even locally, we have the Central Florida Brewers Guild. So I think it's just an ease of access of communication and social media and being able to pass that on. As far as being involved, I mean, we definitely want to be involved in every, backing that we can. It's just brew schedule. Sometimes we weren't able to do Resilience last year just because our brew schedule was so hectic. So I don't want any brewers to get faulted for not doing one of them because there is, operations and we all, have the same backings and beliefs, obviously. But I think it's just easy communication because we all talk. I mean, the Florida Brewers Guild, we're meeting once a week just to get through this together because we're all in the same boat with the same license. So we, have our Thursday morning Zoom meeting just to catch up. And I mean, today's was quick and easy because we had no updates. And it's a bummer to hear, but at least we have 50 of us on a Zoom meeting that we're like, oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, let's collaborate. So I think it's that tight-knit community that we have locally, but I mean, that expands well beyond that. I mean, Weathered Souls for the Black is Beautiful is out of Texas, and, other half was the All Together beer. They're out in New York, and, California with Resilience. So it's not like a local community thing. It's definitely a national. We all support each other. We all exchange resources. We all do what we can do to kind of help each other out. So I think that's the big thing to it.
Awesome. And then Eric, what is the experience brewing a beer like that? Do the recipes come to you pretty turnkey, or is it a lot more freeform and there's some wiggle room that you have?
I think the way we looked at it with All Together and Black is Beautiful is we took the base recipe and needed to add our little bit of flair to it. We didn't get crazy with it. We just made it our own is basically, I think, what we did. Instead of a lot of extra adjuncts or anything like that on either beer, a few extra grains, make things a little more interesting and go from there and just try to have something good and not have to worry about it on the back end. Just confident that we made a good beer.
And did you get a lot of people that were asking, it's like, hey, I've heard about this beer. Are you going to do that beer?
I think we have had a few people ask, right? We had a couple bartenders ask and people outside that when they came in to get the Camp Ivanhoe stuff, is this next for you guys? Are you going to do this? And yes, we are.
That's kind of amazing. And it's an interesting segue to the last beer that we have, one that I've heard about the last time that I was at Ivanhoe Park Brewing. I was very excited to finally have it because I heard nothing but great things about this. And I'm going to put up the can and introduce this as Tupac Shaporter, which is kind of amazing. So, and this is another one of those beers, Eric, that was in existence when when the both of you got to the brewery.
Yeah.
How much did you have to change the recipe, or was it perfect the way that it was?
Well, as far as I understand, in the beginning, Tupac was a Baltic porter, maybe a handful of times, and then it was an American porter. It went back and forth. So right now, Tupac is an American porter. Straightforward, easy drinking porter. Nothing crazy, nothing outlandish, just a good, easy porter.
And I'm assuming that you get a lot of double takes and second glances when people see this on the menu.
When we went to GABF with Suck at Trebek, didn't we take Tupac also, Glenn?
Yeah.
Just the people seeing the names coming to us just because of the name of the beer. And then they got to sample it. So then we had the whole separate conversation like, yes, it's a good beer. It's got a interesting name, but it's still a good beer. We can back it up.
It's a good, solid porter. It's got a lot of great coffee and chocolate notes to it. It's very simple, easy to drink. It's not, brutal. I mean, I guess you could treat this if you really wanted to. I don't know if that's something that you would really want to do, Eric. It doesn't seem like it would be.
I think porter should be left alone. I think a porter speaks for itself, and it should be a beer that should just be left alone. Some people don't like pastry stouts or sweet stouts, so you can guide them towards a porter. I mean, we've had people tell us that, no, this is a stout. No, it's a porter. It's a real porter. So, yeah.
It's kind of amazing. And it's amazing to see, and I'm curious as to whether you've seen this as well, that people generally shy away from porters like this that are pretty easy to drink because they assume that the color equals heaviness, and this is going to be a big, thick, bold beer.
Since I've been back in Florida and been involved at the brewery, I'm really not surprised anymore what people like. I mean, just to see how much people are drinking porters and stouts and it's hot and humid as it is outside, I'd rather have a lager, pilsner, a session IPA or something, but that's me. So we'll take all those customers. Keep drinking those beers.
Well, hopefully they will keep drinking the beers and keep everything going on at Ivanhoe Park. What do you think is going to be coming up next? What do you need people to know so that way we protect craft beer at Ivanhoe Park Brewing in Orlando, in the state of Florida and beyond?
I only heard a part of that question. Did you hear it all, Glenn?
What we got coming in the pipeline. Our biggest thing, we got the variety pack. I'm pretty stoked about this.
Nice.
Look in the future of swapping one out and doing a variety. Our biggest thing is getting our tap room open. That's the biggest bummer, is not being able to hang out and have a beer with, our regulars that come in. So once that happens, it'll be a little bit more exciting on our end. So we're hopeful in the next couple weeks.
Can you describe a little bit as to why the tap room isn't open? Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me still.
Yeah. So the DBPR tweeted a couple weekends or 2 Fridays ago, just stating that bars need to close. And then, as it turned out, like when we started opening tap rooms, breweries with tap rooms that had food trucks, they allowed to operate as food establishments. So a lot of us were like, perfect, it's only one step back. We can kind of take a look at that, the IPL over there. That was one of the Camp Ivanhoe beers.
Nice.
Unfortunately, DBPR decided that they didn't like breweries that are operating with food trucks and operating as a food establishment. So they kind of cut that off from us. We're hearing that the next Thursday is when they'll reevaluate based on the cases and deaths and all the different rates to see where we stand. And at that point, if it's a decrease, then they may evaluate to allow us to operate with a food truck. And if they increase, then they might actually look at shutting down restaurants. So just doesn't make a lot of sense, unfortunately. But, brewers, we try to play nice. We want to be an industry that is known for following the rules and putting safety first. But, we talked before the show a little bit. It's unfortunate you see restaurants packed to the brim. And I mean, that would give them an outlet to come to the brewery rather than go to that one restaurant that's open because there's 5 bars around it that are closed. So, I mean, there's not much. Florida Brewers Guild, we're working as hard as we can to get that going, but unfortunately our hands are tied right now.
Are there things that people that are watching the show either live or later on YouTube that they can do to help the Florida craft beer community along, short of chugging an entire lager right in front of me live on camera?
You caught that?
I caught that.
If you go to the Florida Brewers Guild Facebook or Instagram page, it explains how to go to myfloridahouse.gov. From there, you enter your address to find your local representative and just reach out to them, email them, call them, just tell them, the breweries that were open when they were allowed to open, we were safe. We, strictly enforced masks. My staff haven't not worn a mask. I mean, in the brew house, Amanda's very strict, even during closed times when it's only Amanda and Eric. Both of them wear masks. So it sucks that, there were a few bad apples and the DBPR thought that the best way to do it was just shut everybody down. But that's the best way. Contact your local reps, tell them to contact the DBPR and tell them, why our brewery shut down. They're following the rules. They're trying to play it safe, but at the same time, there's small businesses that are going to eventually start closing just because, we have rent to pay, we have payroll to pay, and PPP came and went. PPP's gone. All that government funding's gone. So we need second rounds of funding, or we need some sort of, relief to at least get us through this, non-operational period where we're paying for a license that we can't use. So.
And Eric, you can probably speak to this. A number of people have always said that breweries, one of the many things that separates breweries from restaurants or bars or anything, is the inherent high level of cleanliness that they must have in order to basically be functional.
I mean, that's really most of what we do is clean. I mean, from the time we get there till we leave, we're cleaning something, wiping something down, spraying something down, scrubbing something. We have to. No matter what.
I know Glenn has to spray down some
look at that
yeast,
brewery
right?
behind it. Look how shiny that stuff is.
Yeah, let me do this really fast.
There you go.
Yeah, that is it. And I'll tell you, it's amazing. Very few breweries will ever look anything other than that. And I've noticed that.
I think most brewers take a really serious pride in what they do. I mean, you're making something, like a chef, anything else, you're making something somebody's going to ingest. The worst thing you can find out is you gave somebody an upset stomach or anything. You don't want that ever. So the easiest thing to do is clean, make sure it's sanitized.
And unfortunately, it seems like other people in Tallahassee need to understand the difference between bars, restaurants, and what breweries do a little bit better, sounds like.
Yeah, I think so.
We will definitely be checking in. Definitely best of luck. Glenn, can you put that boxcar up one more time? Because that's sort of amazing. I really like to see that. And where can you actually purchase those? Is that available only at the brewery or everywhere?
So in the tap room for sure, ABC, Total Wine, and Fresh Market locally. So we distribute with City Beverages, Daytona Beverages, and Wayne Dench. So we're in 6 counties. Right now, City Beverages has it picked up, but soon in the next couple of weeks, it'll start be rolling out to Wayne Dench and Daytona Beverage territories. So yeah, we're excited. It's been on the shelves. Fresh Market did a nice display for 4th of July, and they sold out within the first day. So they're going pretty. I think it's kind of helping get local craft beer on the market. I mean, we just want the general market to try beer. I mean, I'll talk up every other brewery in Central Florida just because I want them to explore. I mean, it's their palate. They get to choose what they want to drink. So
nice. And definitely when it comes to something like this, a rising tide floats all boats, I would assume.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Glenn, Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you're going to be sticking around for us next week, we are going to be chatting with 26 Degree Brewing in Pompano Beach and their recent collaboration with Clonakilty, an Irish whiskey manufacturer. I don't have it here with me now, but they are actually releasing an Irish whiskey that was aged in barrels that previously held some IPA1A from 26 Degree Brewing. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I've actually been able to try a little bit, and it's pretty good stuff. So Ivanhoe Park Brewing is in Orlando. Definitely recommend that you go check them out. I don't think I've ever had a bad beer from them. And the 4 that we tried on camera definitely kind of just need a pipeline directly from their brewing tanks directly to my house. That would be greatly appreciated. Glenn, Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show. Make sure to follow us. We're at Florida Beer Media, at Florida Beer Blog, or at Lager Layover. You can find us Twitter, Instagram, everywhere else. And we will see you all next week. Thank you so much for coming on. Bye, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.